As the story starts, we are introduced to the Reincarnated clan, a clan that rules over half of the world, as the members of this clan are born with extraordinary talent and powerful bodies, which helps them at ruling over the top of the world with their dominating power, battle, plunder, possession. It was world that only strongest can survive. That was the clan our protagonist Jin Reincarnated was born into as a youngest son, and at a selection ritual that is said to foretell a child's future, he selected Patriarch's sword, marking him as the child that grabbed the fate of the Patriarch, which grabbed the attention of Reincarnated clan for selecting the Barasata, which was the Patriarch's sword, and he also believed that his life would only be success and glory in future. However, that was until he found out that he had no talent in swordsmanship. As Reincarnated descended, he was considered as a dishonor of Reincarnated clan, as he could not even be compared to an average member of the clan, and he was called as the least talented Reincarnated ever, and he was also bullied by his own brothers, who mock him for choosing the Patriarch's sword, while having no talent for the swordsmanship, since he was not able to talk back to them. They beat him up and broke his sword even if he begged him to stop, but even though they did that, Jin thought it didn't matter, as if he just have to work hard to gain his family's acknowledgement, and he sincerely believed that until he was expelled from the clan, by saying that they expelled him from the clan as his hard work was commendable, and for that they would not kill him. And that was when he met his master and found out that he indeed had a talent. It was a forbidden act in his clan, and that talent was in magic. And 3 years later, as he was researching about magic, he was summoned by Solderit, who is a master of shadow, who introduces himself as God of Shadow, and proposes a contract, which does not only let him use spiritual power, but also can nullify any curses. And also Solderit tells that Jin also has been cursed by someone, and because of that he was not able to show his true talent. The curse that he has is called Bladed Illusion, and it suppress one's talent for swordsmanship. Solderit relieve him from his curse, and tells him that from this day onwards, no curse will harm him. And now it was time for him to become magic swordsman of the century. And Solderit let him know that he will be watching over him with pleasure and leaves. As soon as Solderit leaves, Jin picks up the sword and leaves to practice, only to find out that he indeed had talent for swordsmanship, and thinks that his hard work is paying off. But then he was attacked by someone, which ended up in Jin being badly injured, and he was also at the verge of his death, and asks his master and Solderit to save him, but no one come. So he asks why was he given a chance since it was going to end this way, and closes his eyes. But then he finds himself in a situation where his clan members were looking at him. Then he see Barasata and realizes that he is in selection ritual. Then Jin realizes that somehow he time traveled to past as 1-year-old baby. Then he goes to chooses Barasata again, by saying that last time he picked it by accident, but this time, he's gonna pick it by his own will. Every clan members were surprised that he picked Barasata. As ritual ends, his father orders to move him to Storm Castle. 6 years later we found out that it is their tradition, that they have to stay in Storm Castle until they turn 10 years, and Jin still has 3 years left to leave the castle. Then he see a bird killed, and only one that can do such inside the Storm Castle is his brothers. Then his brothers continue to mock him by saying if he's gonna cry. Then Jin remember how his brother became infamous murderers in his past life, but he gets angry that they killed an innocent bird just to mess with him, while they continue to mock if choosing Barasata has made him think he can ignore his brothers. Then he says something quietly, but his brother attacks him saying that he's to quit. But Jin stops his attack with his hand, and tell him that he has quit noisy, and he should just shut the hell up, and beat 2 of them, and warns them to stay out of his sight. Then a man enters the room asking what happened. Jin says that they both fought each other and collapsed. Khan thinks that as expected the youngest Reincarnated is brutal and agrees with him as he cannot do much. Then when Khan picks his brothers to take them to hospital, Jin order Khan to follow him, and we see that he has buried the dead bird there and left his brother in rain. When Khan say it's not good leave their brother in rain, Jin says that his brothers need to understand the severity of what they have done, and Khan respects Jin's order. Then walking back, Khan suspect that the energy Jin used was mana, which is a forbidden act, and think that he has to report it to the Patriarch, and immediately leave the palace to report as Jin watches. But Jin has already predicted that he would do that. But what Jin used is not mana but a spiritual power, and his contract with Solderit is still valid in this life, and he escaped the Bladed Illusion curse because of Solderit power, and now all that is left for him is to meet his father. And as Khan report it to his majesty, he orders he assemble the night, as he going to meet the youngest, and he marches towards the castle along with Jin's siblings. While traveling, one of the siblings asks her brother if he know anything about sudden assembly. As she was busy knocking out the magicians, brother replies that if it was about Tona brothers, then they would arrive in a year, so he might be going to meet our lil bro. She asks why lil bro. He replies he did chose the patriarch sword. She say right as if she has completely forgotten about that. Then she thinks to herself our little bro must be very useful to have father visit him personally. As scene switches to Jin, we see him thinking as Khan has an inflexible personality. He would have reported exactly what he has saw that day, and he wouldn't have concluded that the energy that he saw was magic. And the father is coming to see this power for himself, and also to see if Jin will have any help for clan's future and prosperity. Then his father enter the castle and calls the Tona brothers first, and ask them what was your mistake in the quarrel. They answers that they have done nothing wrong, and it was Jin who attacked them first. While doing he used of unknown abilities similar to magic. And they also say isn't magic forbidden in our clan with an evil smile. For that patriarch says that they will not be able to survive and rekindle like that. Then he calls Jin to come. As he is entering, we get to know that Jin father name is Reincarnated, and he is the strongest yet the coldest man he ever know his life. And he is most powerful being of this era who has reached demigod, the Genesis Knight. He explains that his father was a normal man, but as soon as he reached demigod, he lost his all emotions that made him human and became obsessed toward clan and its prosperity. And in last life to a father like that, someone like him who had no talent in swordsmanship was good as nothing. However, it is different in this life, as no one will ever be able to ignore him, and enters the room. Then his father asks same question to him. What was the mistake his brothers made in the quarrel? For which he answers revenge, and continue to explain that, as a rekindle, it is his duty to return what they have received. Whether it is kindness or hatred, we see his sister get excited after hearing it. Then his father asks everyone to leave the room. As his sister leaves, she thinks to have one-on-one with father he ain't that bad. As everyone leaves, his father asks what is power he used against the Tona brothers. And magic is a forbidden act in Reincarnated, as it does not let swordsmen to reach their full potential. Then warns him if it is magic he will not get away with that. For which he replies that his power is neither aura nor magic. And by showing his power, he says if he does not mind he could put a name for it. His father realizes that it was the power that was used by first patriarch, and it is spirit of Barasada, and wonder if this child is truly fated to be patriarch of the clan. And then explains that it is the power of Soldaret, the god of shadows. Soldaret made a contract with first patriarch of Reincarnated, Sir Timur, and he was the god who was with us since the birth of our house. After Sir Timur passed away, Soldaret never appeared again to Reincarnated, but it seems that he decided to reappear to Reincarnated through you. Then Jin asks his father if God Soldaret is stronger than him. His father says that he has never fought a god, so he do not know. Jin is impressed by his answer, and his father praises him that it was a good question as it is great topic to think about, and visiting him today was definitely worth it. Then proceeds to ask how he would like to use his power. Jin answers that he won't use it for clan, for which his start to laugh like a psychopath, and says that's an amusing lie, because you beat up your brother and left them out in the storm. Then you say you won't use it for the clan, and orders him to answer honestly. Then he answer honestly that he want to use this power for himself. His father answer that was good answer, and he will be watching him from now on, and takes his leave. Then he excitedly says it's done, and says that it was good choice to let his father to know about his father, as he will be looking forward for his performance. And it didn't expect it to go this well. And while remembering his old life, he says that he will be living completely different life from his past life. Then his sister give him gift and says to boil it and eat it well, and tell him to get strong fast. Then when he opens the gift he finds a phoenix heart. He thinks his sister is insane for giving that to a 7-year-old boy. It's said that if it is eaten at young age, they are expected to have a tolerance for fire, and it increase the growth rate. And they can even summon a phoenix when he becomes 6-star magician. And as dish is served, we his brother asking him if he need any help in finishing the huge pot. And since he knew they wanted to eat it too, he asked them for a favor in return. That was to dig a hole under his castle. They agree and start digging as ordered. And we see a man sleeping inside a capsule, and he seems to be pretty powerful too. In last episode, Jin asked his brother to dig a hole under the castle. Then we see a mysterious man sleeping in a capsule. So this episode starts as Jin's brothers enter the room after finishing to dig the hole. and as they arrive they ask for their reward for completing the task. And Jin points towards a huge teaspoon and says he left some over there. Tona brothers get really pissed at this and do nothing about it as they can't do anything. And then we see Jin head towards the cave his brothers dug, starts to use magic by saying that he was frustrated after accumulating mana for so long, as he had nothing to use it on, attack the cave's wall, and says finally he's here. Then we see a large gate that leads towards the Rincandle's secret library, and thinks to himself that he couldn't access this place in his past life, and it feels strange standing here, and says a special activation phrase to open the gate, which he remembers from his last life. As he enters the library we get to know that library has collection of secret tomes or secret books of the clan that Rincandles have brought down, and also only clan's flag bearer are permitted to enter, meaning Jin is sneaking into library. Then as he enters he see the mysterious man who is sleeping in the capsule, and as he sees the scales on his face, he interpret that he is not a human. Then he realizes that he is the Black Dragon Murakan. He fell into deep slumber after losing a fight against the first patriarch. He thinks to himself that now is not the right time to think about this, and takes his leave to find the secret books. And we see the Murakan's arm moves. Then scene switches to Jin, who has the books, and picks a book from a famous swordsmaster, and take out a book and pen, saying he could get caught if takes this outside, so he will copy it instead. We see him copying the notes peacefully. Then he senses someone, and goes to open the door thinking there is no one who would come Strom Castle Library right now. Then he sees Murakan's asking to Jin, "Who are you?" Then he thinks to himself that there was no incident of Murakan waking up in his last life. That he clams himself and thinks if he acts like a child and be polite he might go easy on him, and says, "As the child of Rincandle I greets my clan's guardian." Then we see Murakan getting pissed and yelling at Jin, "Did you call me a guardian?" and curses Rincandle for teaching that to people and says that he can't even get angry at this lil pipsqueak. Then he clammed down and says he got up because he smelled something nice for the first time, but disappointed that it was just a lil brat. Then he asks why does he smell spiritual energy on him. It is only contractor like Timur would have it. Then Jin shows his power saying, and asks are you perhaps taking about this. Then Murakan starts to cry and says 1,000-year contractor is this tiny brat. This must be a joke. Then he says to Jin that he has a promise with Solderit, and according to that promise the person he's supposed to help is Jin, and tells that he will tell the details later as he is a bit scrambled as he just woke up, and it will be hard for you to understand. Then Murakan decides to introduce himself properly and starts to transform, saying that he is Murakan, Solderit's proxy, his friend and last descendant of first being of Shadow, and according to that 1,000-year contract, starting from today he will be with Jin. As he completely transforms into a dragon he asks for his name. Then Jin introduces himself as he is Jin Rincandle, and he is 13th, and the youngest child of Rincandle. Now we get to know that Murakan Mountain where Strom Castle sits is named after this dragon, and the Black Dragon Murakan was a powerful ruler who ruled over the area for many years. However 1,000 years ago Murakan lost battle against the first patriarch Sir Timur, and after giving up his area he fell into deep slumber, and Murakan was not an enemy, but first patriarch's guardian dragon, and every contractor are accompanied by a guardian dragon, and yet knowledge about Solderit's dragon has always remained a mystery. And Jin thinks it makes sense as Murakan was in deep slumber, but he wonders if he will also get a guardian dragon as Murakan is awake now. And after 1 month, Jin asks him why he fought with Timur. Murakan says he doesn't remember as it was 1,000 years ago. Jin says after 2 months he was able to discover only one thing about him, and that was that he is crazy for strawberry pies. Then Murakan asks what does he do when he come here. Jin answers he copies the book as it will be discovered if takes them with him. Murakan asks if understands them. Jin says about 30%. Murakan says he doing good for his age as others are bumming around. Jin replies that is least expected for a Rincandle, and in order to surpass them all he need to achieve more. Then continue to ask how much would first patriarch understood. Murakan answers that Timur was not able to comprehend a single sentence from that book, but he was really good at fighting, as theory is not same as real battle, and continue to explain that he also has talent like Timur, but not as much as him. Jin asks will he never be able to become as strong as Timur. Then Murakan says he is Solderit's contractor like Timur, also he is more intelligent than him, so if he train well he will not only be strong as him, but he might even surpass him. Then he says do you know what is nickname of Solderit? Jin says no. Then Murakin says it's infinite. As Solderit power has no limit, Solderit's contractor also has no limit. Then he promises to teach him new technique called spiritual release. Then start to explain how to learn it. And says that he need to learn mana release first to master spiritual release. Then he starts saying it will take him at least 2 to 3 years to master it. Then Jin flexes by showing the mana release. And asks if he can learn now. Murakin gets shocked and agrees that he is indeed talented. And agree to teach spiritual release. And continues to explain that every shadow is born from will of Solderit. And Solderit is master of every shadow in the world. And since he is sole contractor of Solderit, he can also become master of all shadows. And says this the spiritual release. Jin seems to be amazed by it. Then scene switches to one of the Jin siblings. And there one of the soldiers says the area has been cleared, and mission should be over if they clear 5 more areas. And she says 4 months should be enough and orders them rest for a while. And asks what does a 9-year-old boy would usually like. After half a year meeting Murakin, Tona twins became 10 years old and left the castle. And as for Jin, he became 9 years old. Then Khan enters the room and reports that his sis Luna has came for visit. As she enter the room we get to know that she is Reincarnated's first clan bearer and 9th star knight. She is also the eldest among 13 siblings. And her nickname is the White Whale, Luna Reincarnated. Despite being the strongest among Reincarnated's siblings, she abandoned her desire to become future patriarch and step away from Reincarnated's war of succession. And because of she never showed any interest in any siblings. And Jin says she is more of a stranger to him than a family. And for someone like her to come to Strom Castle out of nowhere, he wonders if something big happened in the clan. Or maybe she find out that he is entering the secret library. Then he proceeds to say that he would warn something nice if she has noticed him about her arrival. She says that cute and asks does she need to give a notice to see her little brother. Then she asks if he is sick because he seemed to be uncomfortable. Then Jin says he is just nervous as this is his first time meeting her, so he can't help but be on edge. Then she thinks to herself it is Reincarnated's custom to crush their siblings and take from each other. Does Jin think she is there to keep him in check? Then she says sorry and asks him to speak in private with him. Jin says yes big sis. Then she continued to explain that she came to tell him that when his father came to visit him, it made every sibling to pay attention to you. Which means after you leave the castle all the siblings will be against him keeping him in check. But she does not want him to be caught in families fight and miss out on happiness. Then Jin thinks this must be the reason why steep down from succession battle of siblings. Then question himself why did she not warn him in his last life. And realizes that he was worth giving such advice before. Or it is because the other siblings used to not view him as a contestant. Then he says he is thankful for her words and he has intention of staying out of this fight. And he has already experienced the assassination attempt. She gets really angry and asks if it was at Strom Castle and asks who was it. Jin says he also don't know. They made an attempt, but he is fine. And he is happy to know that not all his sibling hate him. She hugs him and says she should not talk about such sad things on a happy day. And gives him a gift and explains that just one time if he is in a situation he can't handle, if he smashes the gem no matter where you are she will come right away. And congratulate him on his 9th birthday. And after their celebration she leaves the castle. Then he enters the secret library where Murakin asks what's around his neck. When he says he got it as a present, he says that whoever gave that to you must value a lot. When Jin asks why is it, Murakin says because it is item of demonic beast King Orgel, and 1,000 years ago countless people have died trying to get their hands on it. When Jin asks if it is really that amazing, Murakin explains that it gives immunity to any magic level attack below 5 star, and strengthens users' magic ability, and it even has summoning ability. Then ask him if the owner of powerful energy that just visited you gave it. Then Jin says yes she is his sis and asks him you could feel her energy all the here. Murakin says yeah your sis should have also felt his energy. Then Jin says what if she tells the clan? Then Murakin says that he worried about nothing as she is his big sis, that gave him such valuable gift like it's nothing, and he should just trust her. Then scene switches to Luna who says she feel a dense energy that she was not there before, and thinks to herself Jin must be preparing something, and she should just turn a blind eye. Then she says that whatever he will do or become, she will always cheer him on. So in last episode we saw Jin became 9 years, and met his sis, who said that she will always cheer him on, no matter what he chose to do or become. In this episode, we see some time skip of 1 year, and Jin turns 10. Then as he spars with Khan he says he thought days at Storm Castle would be boring, but he gained his father's recognition, the Phoenix heart from his sis Mary, a connection with his sis Luna, and also a guardian dragon Murican. They are all the things he couldn't even dream in his previous life. And now he has turned 10 and left the Storm Castle and began his preparation to go back home. As the spar with Khan is over, Khan thinks as expected Jin is someone Patriarch would take interest in, cause when he train other he is the one evaluating the other. But now he feels like he is the one being evaluated, and he says, "Young master, it has been an honor to be able to instruct you," and he promises to provide him with best possible training until the end. Then Jin says he will be in his care until then. Then we see him put his finger in the flame, and he says it feel like warm water. It is because of the Phoenix heart he ate, and he has only absorbed only half of it, and he will be able to absorb all of it in few years. Then his maid says that she packed everything, and he should let her know if he needs anything. And she says she will prepare strawberry pie for dessert tomorrow. Then he remember about Murican and enters Reincarnated library to see him. After meeting him he asks him how does he plan to follow him tomorrow. Murican says even though he is weakened this is a piece of cake. Then Jin is surprised to hear that and asks if he can regain his full strength. Murican says he will become strong as Jin continues to grow, and he should become as strong as Magic Swordsman Teamer fast. Then Jin asks, why is magic banned in Reincarnated now as it was allowed 1000 years ago? Then Murican explains that the reason Reincarnated's banned magic and made rules about focusing on swords is because of humiliating covenant from 1000 years ago, and says that even though people praise him for being family's guardian, they will feel uncomfortable if he actually showed up. But if it was 1000 years ago they would be awed at the fact that you are with the most respected being in the world. Jin asks if Reincarnated would really do that. Murican brushes it off and promises to hide well, so he doesn't need to worry. Then ask about what he is gonna do about capsule being empty. Murican says he will make a clone to fill it. And when Jin doubts about his ability to do that, he says while pissed off he is the shadow dragon, and making a duplicate of himself is something he can do in his sleep, and he will be not able to hold it forever, but he will do best to hold it until he gets the order. Jin thanks him for being considerate, and gives him strawberry pie and the wine he secretly bought. Murican happily accepts it and asks him to introduce him to his nanny. Then as he returns his nanny tells him he can't be so carefree after returning home, and it will be difficult for him from now onwards. Jin says he will do his best when he returns, and night comes to escort him back home, and they leaves towards the Reincarnated's main house. Then we see him traveling peacefully, until he gets attacked. Then one of the knights tell him that it's an ambush, and they should wait inside the carriage. Then when his nanny tells him that both knight are 7-star, and both are fighting, Jin tells her that they have to get out of the carriage, cause a guardian knight of Reincarnated would never leave behind a Reincarnated's child. Either one of two will always stay by his side all the time, so they must be either fake or traitors, and there must be something hidden in carriage to get rid of him, and they must escape now. His nanny says she understands and as a servant of Reincarnated, she will protect him no matter what. Then she destroys the carriage and both of them escape, and Jin tells her to go to where the fight is going, cause the ones attacking them could be their allies, as they could have attacked him after he left the carriage, so they are not targeting him. Then as they arrive they see Yuta clan from Middle and Black King Mercenary who are Reincarnated's allies, and a man introduces himself as a vice captain of Black King Mercenary, and they have came to rescue him after receive a request from Reincarnated clan. Then Jin thinks it wasn't a betrayal, but rather they were fake cause they wouldn't be struggling if they were 7-star knight. Then Gilly asks who are they affiliated with and what is their objective. One of them says you think we'd reveal the truth to a Reincarnated's dog. Then Jin orders to kill one of them and cut off the arm of the other one and bring him to Jin. Then Gilly kills one and cut off another one's arm and bring him to Jin. Then Jin says that to become nanny of the Reincarnated one has to be at least 7-star martial artist, so they should send at least 2 8-star to kill them. Then he says this is just a warning, and the era of Reincarnated will soon come to end. Then Jin says even he wants that, and rather than the era of Reincarnated, he wants the era of Jin Reincarnated to come. Then he says glory to great Zipfels. Then we get to know about Zipfels. They are the clan of magicians that rules over other half of the world, and as Reincarnated aim for peak swordsmanship, Zipfels aim for peak of magic. And 1000 years ago when the first patriarch of Reincarnated died, Zipfels forced a humiliating covenant from Reincarnated that prohibited magic, and from that day Reincarnated clan had all their magic abilities sealed, and they are 1000-year-old enemy for Reincarnated. Jin asks Gilly to just throw him already as he is not worth questioning. Jin thinks that something is weird, No matter what, it is hard to trick a 7-star martial artist and suspect that it could be doing of that guy. Then Jin says it was thanks to them for distracting them that they were able to escape. And once they arrive at home they will be paid handsomely, and ask him to accompany him till then. The vice captain thinks, what kind of kid is he? Even though he is child of Reincarnated, it's his first time leaving the castle, but he looks so at ease and dignified for a 10-year-old brat. Perhaps the world he spoke earlier is not a child fantasy. Then he orders his team to not to use crude world until they reach Reincarnated, and they leave towards Reincarnated's main house. Then Gilly asks if it is okay to leave the imposters alive. Jin says it's fine as it makes a good example for his companions, and he tells Gilly to not be upset over this matter, as 9-star Knight even Khan was not able to notice it. So it would be hard for her to notice it. And it's not a major issue that he thought or the rules of escorting. She apologizes. Jin thinks she never changes. Then we get to know that Reincarnated's nanny shares her fate with the child she is in charge of, and she was looked down in his past life because of him who had no talent. But Gilly never blamed him for that. She was also exiled from Reincarnated along with him. Then she said she's sorry that she couldn't serve him properly, so he doesn't want to speak harshly to her, and says it's different now and she has to toughen up. Then as she goes to apologize, Jin orders her to not to blame herself, as it will have problem in future escorts if she gets caught up in trivial matters like this. She says she will do her best from now onwards. Then as he enters the inn, he thinks there's a high possibility that Bouvard Gaston interfered. He is Transformer that committed a lot of transformation crime in last life and brought chaos into the world. He thinks even though he haven't done anything to stand out, it will be quite a pain if he is involved. In his last life he was arrested by Vermont Special Force when Jin was 20 years old, so he thinks he will be useful if he makes him his ally. But he has no reason to take in a person who drew their sword against him. Then he falls asleep. Then we see a cat as he wakes up. Then we get to know that it was Murakin who transformed into a cat. Jin says he didn't expect him to transform into cat. Jin thought he would blend into a horseman or a guard. Then Murakin yells at Jin that they would caught him if he did that. Then he slips and bumps into the wall. Then we see Gilly enter the room worried and attacks Murakin. After hearing her name, Murakin gets up and says, "My strawberry pie, we finally meet." And he tell that he's been waiting all this time to meet her. We see her get confused about this. Then Jin introduce him to Gilly as Reincarnated's guardian Black Dragon Murakin. Then as Gilly apologize, Murakin says she should not worry about that as she is his strawberry pie. Then she asks why is she his strawberry pie. Then she gets to know that he is the reason Jin used to ask her for strawberry pie, and he explain everything to her. She is overjoyed that Jin is so talented. Then she asks what was the sound before. Murakin says he tripped and fell. Then both of them doubt if they can trust him. Then we see Gilly say that Black Mercenary will be paid fairly by Reincarnated's clan. Then Vice Captain says that he got a good experience, and he is excited for future of Jin. He asks Gilly why she left the McCrollan clan and joined the Reincarnated as a nanny. She says there is no big reason worth mentioning. Then Vice Captain apologizes for his rudeness. Then they say farewell to each other. Though we see them wait for 2 hours for portal to activate. While waiting they see a Zipful enter room to wait for portal. Then he mocked them by saying that he did not expect to meet a pest like them here. Then he goes to pet the cat but gets scratched on hand. Then he thinks even though he tried to annoy them there is no reaction. He realizes that Reincarnated's youngest son is cool-headed. Then he introduces himself as Baradin Zipful and apologizes for rude behavior earlier. Then Jin remembers Baradin Zipful is a genius magician and a strong contender for future Patriarch of Zipful, and he is someone who felt so distant when he was a magician. And Jin says he was curious what kind of person he was, and he is glad that he was not an idiot. Then Baradin asks why is that. Then Jin explained that if they ended up drawing their swords due to his joke, he would have to experience wandering Huffister City without escorts, and he would have lost at least 2 fingers. Baradin says what a scary joke. Jin asks why does he think Jin is joking. Then Baradin says fine and tells him that if he meets another Zipful and have similar experience, he should not cut off their finger off rashly, as it would just cause trouble for both clan. Then Jin says now that's a funny joke, and asks him does he think his father Keliark Zipful and Jin father Kryan Reincarnated would move because of children fight. Then Baradin says true and thanks Jin for teaching that and promises to repay his favor someday. Then Jin says he would want him to do that favor now, that is to keep quiet until he leaves. Then Baradin thinks Jin will be quite a fellow in future, and he would have made him his friend if it wasn't for their clan. Then he thinks that he could be his eternal rival, since he is from Reincarnated. and we see his guards are disappointed by his behavior. And even Jin thinks, why is Baradin acting like that when he almost lost his fingers? And wonders if all the Zipfuls are not sane in their head. Then we see portal activate, and Baradin says that it was fun today, and let's meet again. Jin says he like to pass and never want to meet again. Then we see both of them arrive at Reincarnated's main house, where Reincarnated's butler greets him and welcomes him to Reincarnated's main house, the Garden of Swords. So in last episode we saw that Jin returned home after turning 10-year-old. As this episode starts, we see the Garden of Swords. In this garden, those who have high achievements and contributed to the Reincarnated can only put their swords in the garden. Then we see Jin thinking to himself that it was his dream to put his sword in the garden when he dies. In his last life he was weak and had no talent, and he couldn't take the lead as he was not cunning. So he wonders why he believed that he could achieve something with just hard work alone. And he thinks in this life, it will be worthwhile to leave in this shitty place. Then we see his whole family waiting for his arrival. Then when he walks in, his mother Rosa Reincarnated greets him. Then his father notices the cat and asks him if he picked it off the street. Jin says he adopted him. His father says he likes his answer, and his sibling are pissed off at this. Then his mother asks what's his name. For that he answers it's Nabi Reincarnated. His brother freaks out at this, and says it is not right to name a lowly animal as a Reincarnated. His father tells him to stop and ask him why he named this cat as Reincarnated. Jin says it might be a cat, but it was the first animal that he adopted, and his name should bear a heavy weight. Then his father asks if he knows the weight of the Reincarnated name. Jin says yes he does, and if someone was to harm Nabi, then he need to pay the price. His father says Jin is talented at making enemy, and points out how their siblings are glaring at him. Jin says that he also has a talent to kill his enemy. His father is very satisfied with his answer. Then after 4 years time skip, we see Jin become 14-year-old and a 2-star knight. Then after his training, we see Belop Schmitz, a knight cadet who brings food to Jin. Jin remembers from his past life that Belop will be expelled soon. He will be robbed of his right as cadet, and will be expelled. Then Jin asks him if the food is delicious. Belop says he is grateful to Reincarnated for giving him such delicious food, but he uses lengthy paragraph to express that. As Jin notices it and says that Belop need to be concise, not just ramble on such lengthy paragraph, as it makes people to look down on him, and he should also have pride as a knight cadet of Reincarnated. Then Belop says he's at rock bottom, and not even a 1-star knight. So how could he be proud of it? Jin explained that becoming a knight cadet is itself a hard task, and he's of elite compared to other 13-year-olds. Belop says yes. Jin thinks to himself, how did the softball go into Heron clan, a different swordsmaster clan, and become a Vermont Empire's loyal hound and walk the path of a heartless mass killer? And he was saddened after hearing that he committed suicide. But Jin says this time he will look after him and make sure that he doesn't get expelled this time. Then we get to know that his spiritual energy release is at 2-star, mana is at 4-star, swordsmanship is at 2-star, and if everything goes smoothly, he will be able to achieve 3-star swordsmanship in just 2 years. Then he heads to train with his sis Luna. His sis tells him to watch with his mind eye. Jin thinks he will have to figure his way out of this training that he has never heard of before. Then he thinks that this technique is for those of 7-star knight or above that. But she is teaching this to him when he is just a 2-star knight. But he tells that he trusts her, and she should have something in her mind for doing this, and he will be able to understand this training in the future. So he just focus on the training. Then as the training ends, his sis thinks Jin always exceeds her expectation, as he has an amazing concentration and posture that is not seen in a 2-star knight. So with his potential he will realize it soon. Then we arrive at the training ground, where everyone looks tense, and reason for that is because the practice spar that they are going to do today is going to be biggest part of their total score. And a good score is a fast track to become a guardian knight. And instructor says that it will also be an important day for Jin. As his mother Rosa Reincarnated said, if you are able to defeat all of the top 10 people today, he can enter intermediate class early for next year. Jin says that it's a good news. Then Jin sees Belop in nervous state again, and Jin thinks that it's not a big deal, since he will make sure that Belop will not get exiled. But he should at least be some confident. Then instructor announces that the top 10 cadets will fight against the Jin. Then they all start their training. Then Jin thinks that they're all not that bad. Guess they didn't earn the right to be cadet for nothing. Then after the training ends, Jin's fight begins, and as he defeated the first cadet, he thinks that he has a best record of having 8th streak, and he just need to add 2 more to it. And to do that he just need to worry about one opponent, that is Misa Mulcano. He remembers that she is an elite that completed all the cadet training in the future and became a guardian knight immediately. So the spar with Misa is more important in this match. Their fight begins. As exchange blow, Jin thinks that she has gotten stronger than before. It's not like he cannot defeat him, but the problem is after he defeat her, he has to defeat 8 more cadet. Then she thinks that Jin is looking down on her cause he keep on using only simple attacks. Then she starts to attack furiously, but Jin breaks her sword and become victorious. Then she realizes that he just kept on attacking same spot to break her sword. She admire him and says he is truly a son of Reincarnated. And she says to Jin that she will win next time. Then as next fight start, we see Jin thinking that it is difficult to deal with 10 of them in his current state. But since he had dominated Misa before, he gave an impression that they would lose if they competed with him in one-on-one. As he defeat the 10th cadet, he is glad that everything went as he planned. Instructor congratulate him and says that he will be able to enter intermediate class early on for next year. Then as there was still 10 minutes left for lunchtime, he says that he wants to spar with someone and challenges Bellup. When Bellup tries to back down, Jin tells him that he can't survive like that in Reincarnated and calls him to come on the stage and fight him now and try to provoke him by saying that he will crush him like a bug. As Bellup enters the arena, he thinks, why does Jin want to fight him? Then he thinks, maybe because he's doing this to shapen him up as he is too weak. Then Jin says that he is tired from fighting 10 cadet before him, but still he can beat him. That's why he challenged him. As Bellup starts to question him, Jin rushes forward to attack. Bellup defends the blow and asks him why is he doing this. Jin does not answer and continue to attack. Then Bellup get beat up and ask why is he doing this. Jin ignore the question and says, does Bellup think Jin called him to just duel? And says that he wants to fight him, and he could have killed him at that moment, and tells him to get up as he is not going to show mercy another time. Then Bellup gets angry and starts to use aura. Then Jin ordered to keep it a secret what everyone witnessed. Then Bellup asks if this is what young master wanted. Then Jin says that's right and tell him not to hold back this time. Bellup says that Jin made a mistake, and he should have fought him before 10 cadet if he wanted to fight him, and attacks Jin furiously and Jin's sword breaks. Then Jin thinks that he didn't expect Bellup to be at this level, even though he knew he would be quite skilled. Cause every time he dueled he analyzed his opponent, but he'd lose by just a little against them. But he never knew he could use aura already. Then Jin grabs his hand and choke him a little. Then Bellup asks why did he stop now, he thought Jin wanted to fight for real. Then again asks Jin if it is really that much fun to toy with people. Jin says of course not. Bellup they why he did all this. Then Jin says that it pains him to see him like this, and he don't know much about him, but he knows one thing, that is he can show consideration only when someone is strong. He continued to say that Bellup is weaker than him and also kinder than him, and he likes that about him. But he can't survive in this hell just by being kind, and he tell that he should become strong to protect that feeling. And he's sorry for being harsh on him. Then as food arrive, Bellup says that Jin should get his own food today. Jin says that alright and tells him that he will also grab his portion today. Then we see Khan report this matter to Jin's father. His father laugh and says that must be his creed then. While walking in the path of Dominator, he'll look after the weak. Jin's father says that he would have to test his creed, and for that he will give him his first mission. Then Jin become 3-star knight at the age of 15. And we get to know that for the first break, cadets can either go home or work on themselves with personal training. And once they enter intermediate class they will have to use their real sword. So cadets orders their first sword, and now Jin also have to find a sword that fit for him in his clan's weapon vault. Then his sis Luna is choosing a sword for Jin, as she asked him to leave picking sword to her. Then he thinks that since she has a better eye for picking weapons, he's sure that she will make a better choice than him. Then we see his sis pull up a big sword, and Jin is completely speechless. Then his sis says that it was a weapon she used when she was his age, and its name is Bale's Slaughterer. And when she asks if he likes it, he says that it is good that she chose a sword for him, but it doesn't seem quite right. Then she say that it's fine as it was just a joke, but Jin don't feel like it was a joke. Then she says that she will show a different sword, and she shows him Bradamante as it is brother of Barasada that he chose in selection ritual. Jin happily accepted and thinks that this was the sword that he wanted, as Barasada and Bradamante are most sword that are most adept to use spiritual energy. And also if he picked it himself, that he would have to give up due to siblings' opposition. Then he thanks his sis for picking sword, even though other sibling wanted it, and says that he don't know how to repay this favor. Then his says that there's no need to repay, and asks if he still has uneasy feeling towards her. and that's make her sad. Jin says that it's not like that. Then his sis says that still she is sad, and he needs to console her sad heart. Then she says to close his eyes so they can start their training. And she says that she will teach one more thing to him. Jin asks what is it? She says that even among the sibling that's trying to crush each other, there is sibling that loves him unconditionally, and tells him to engrave it to his heart, and not to make his sis sad again. Jin says he get it and he's sorry for that. Then she explained that even before he was born she was lonely among their kin, and she don't want him to be lonely like her. Jin says that she understands that. She tells him to resume the training. Then as he goes back he shows his sword to Muraken. He says to put it back as he still lacks spiritual energy control. And to control Bradamante, one need to have 3-star spiritual energy, and Jin is still 2-star, and he can barely initiate awakening of the sword. Then Jin says that he think that he is close to 3-star spiritual energy, so he will be able to use it soon. Then Muraken gets angry, shouts that's a cocky attitude, listen closely brat. Barasada and Bradamante are not a swords he can use carelessly. And 3-star is a bare minimum, and he should be at least 5-star spiritual energy to use it as normal sword. Then says that he is not that patient and tell him that he can achieve 5-star spiritual by the end of the year. Then Muraken says that even if someone who won first place in a spiritual energy contest, and eats nothing but spiritual energy in place of food, then also he could never achieve that. And he is saying all this because he care about him, and says that he should not say things that even dog would laugh at. So if he gets it and he should not be stubborn. Then Jin pick up the book Muraken was reading and blackmails him. Then Muraken ask him put it down. Then Gilly enter the saying that instructor Garen is looking for him. Normally instructor will come looking personally, but instructor has asked Jin to come personally as he needs to explain the plan with maps. When asked what plan, then Gilly says that instructor Garen has assigned him his first mission, and Jin need to depart as soon as the break is over. Then Jin thinks it seems the time has finally came to get his first mission, as he also reached 3-star in swordsmanship, but it's quite strange that he has to depart as soon as break is over. As he's heading to meet the instructor, Gilly says that missions are difficult as they are normally assigned starting from intermediate class. Jin says maybe it's because his transfer has already been confirmed. Then Jin says that he will go and see for himself, and tells Gilly to wait there with Muraken. Then we see him arrive to meet Garen. Then Garen explains that the mission has been appointed to him and 9 other beginner class cadets, and says that it's a scouting mission near the territory of the White Wolf tribe. Jin thinks that it's not a place you'd send to beginner class cadets. And also this assignment was also given very soon. And also the cadet in his group are in bottom half of the class in terms of grade. And also Bellup who has inconsistent grades. He suspected that someone ordered it on purpose. He realizes that maybe his fight with Bellup must have reached his father ears, and this is his way of testing him. Then he says, "Fine father, I will show you clearly that his creed will not waver." In last episode Jin was assigned for his first mission. It is a spy mission, and the goal is to search for Jan Kingdom's Bill clan successor. And as they arrive at the location, Jin gives his order for further strategy of the search. After that Jin thinks this mission is going smoothly than expected, as it was given by his father himself, so he thinks this mission might not be a test, as they can only search up to 13th zone cause beyond is the land of beastmen, and as beginner class cadets they can't win against them. So he thinks he can finish the job in 4 days by searching this area. Then Bellup comes running and report that 2nd Division has been ambushed. Jin orders everyone to prepare to move. Then Bellup reports that one of them was able to return to camp, and reported the situation. Then as Jin arrives to the scene, his team member report that he found bandage from the west side. Jin realizes that they must have fled towards the west to escape from another ambush. Then they head towards the west, and they spotted 2nd Division who is fighting the enemies, and launch a surprise attack towards the enemy. After successfully clearing the enemies, 2nd Division members report that the enemy has took Mesa with them. Then Jin says to his enemy that one of them could live if they can spit information. Then one of them give out the information and ask not to kill his family members. And the organization they are working for is called Canzello. Then Jin remembers that they are a terrorist organization that was active until his death in his previous life. And they even killed Jan's emperor and became famous for killing citizens. And they called themselves as revolutionary organization. And the revolution that they believe is for their own king to become the king of the world. Then Jin orders all his team members to go back and report the situation, and he will try to rescue Mesa. Then he head towards enemy's lair.
hoping he is not too late. Then he thinks as there are 20 enemies that are 4-star martial artists, his priority should be rescue of Mesa and avoid fighting. Then he uses magic to locate them, and fight with 2 guards that came across in his way to enemy's camp. Then guard tried to attack with fire, but Jin is resistant towards fire. So guard attack him with ice, but Jin break through that spell and finishes him. Then he finds traces of wheels and follows it to their camp. Then as he arrive he starts fire to distract them, and as they try to put off the fire, his boss order to find the one that started it. Then he appears beyond him and kills him. Then he goes to rescue Mesa. He hears a sound outside, and as they head outside they see White Wolf tribe member. Then Mesa tries to tell Jin to run, but Jin knocks her out. Then the beast asks if he was responsible for all this. Jin says yes and introduces himself as Jin Reincarnated, and asks for Beast's name. Beast get excited after learning he is Reincarnated's offspring. Then scene switch to few days in the past before mission start, where Jin is trying to activate the Bradamante. Then Murakin kicks him and asks if he has death wish. As a waking Bradamante at his level he will die from spiritual energy congestion. As Jin agrees not to do that again, we get back to battle of Jin and the Beast, where the Beast introduces himself as Quasito Truca. Then we get to know that every tribe member of White Wolf Beast are born for battle. An average White Wolf power is above 6-star, and they hate Reincarnated as the first patriarch killed Great Wolf Javier, whom they used to worship as their god. Jin thinks it's impossible to run with Mesa and decides to fight him, and they start their fight. Jin is pushed back with just one attack, so he chooses to awaken the sword, as it is the only way to kill the beast, and attacks him with awakened Bradamante and cut him in half. But he gets into spiritual congestion after the fight, and starts to get negative thoughts. Then he starts to perform spiritual energy release, and manages to break through the congestion. Then as he thinks of getting back to Reincarnated, he finds Simmer Bill whom they were searching for. Bill says he came in search of his lover, who has died 2 years ago, but he saw someone exactly like her here. Jin thinks it must be Buber Gaston, and his transformation ability. Then as Jin tells him to wait here as night will get here, Bill says he will remember this favor, and he could come to him if he needs any help. Then agrees to do that and heads back. Then Gilly is happy that Jin has completed his first mission. Then we see Murakin who scolds Jin for using spiritual energy. Then Jin explained the situation and asks how did he figure out that he used the sword. Murakin says Jin's shadow energy has jumped from 3-star to mid 4-star. So how could he not? Then Murakin says that only 2 has survived after congestion including Jin. As Jin asks if another one is first patriarch, Murakin says it was Murakin himself that survived and Timur would have died. So Jin says that Murakin and Jin are same so he doesn't need to worry. Then Murakin is pissed off at Jin. Then Jin killing a wolf beast spreads, and we see his sis discussing about that, where one says wolf must be a weak one, so he might have killed it. Another one says that even so it's impossible, and it does not make sense that their mother believed that so easily, and asks his brother what they think. Both brother have different opinion, and continues to say that he will be joining intermediate class, that's the real problem, and they might get bullied by him. Then their sis agrees to help them by lending them her slaves. Then we are introduced to Reincarnated's intermediate class. The class follows Law of Jungle, where the sisters pick a few cadets and make them their slaves. Then we see Jin thinking that he needs to get his swordsmanship to level 6 to use his sword, and explains that if one reaches 7th star mean they are a master, and beyond that mean you're an irregularity. And if some manages to surpass 9th star is only one that is surpassed, that is the demigod or celestial knight. And Jin thinks that in this life he will surpass the celestial knight, but he thinks now that he will enter the intermediate class his brother will try to keep him in check, and anyone with soft heart will not be able to come out of intermediate class. And there is only one thing for him to do where skill and strength are everything, that is to dominate the intermediate class with brute strength. In last episode Jin said that he will dominate whole intermediate class with brute strength. As this episode starts, Jin's mother called Jin to congratulate on his first mission completion, and offered him to move to the room that only the next patriarch candidate is supposed to stay in. However, Jin rejects it, saying that the room is too large and extravagant for him. Jin's mother thinks Jin must have rejected the offer, as it makes him target of his siblings and others, and she is also looking forward to his performance in the intermediate class. Then scene switches to Jin, who is telling his team members that they will be entering the intermediate class. And intermediate class is made up of several factions, and as they are in Jin's faction they will be targeted by others. But Jin assures that they don't need to be scared, as he will not just stand on watching if that happens, and such thing will disappear once he completely suppress the intermediate class. But until that happens they need to move in the group and not act alone. Everyone agrees to that. Then scene switches to intermediate class, where Jin's uncle Zed Reincarnated tells that he will only teach swordsmanship and assessor performance, and other things should be looked after by themselves excluding murder. He shouts and asks the seniors what does they always emphasize on. Everyone shouts and replay that weak are not needed in the Reincarnated. Jin understands that they are pressurizing them, but Jin thinks that he should let them know that they have misunderstood something. So he walked towards Tona Brothers and cut the arm of the guy standing next to Tona Brothers. Then the Tona Brothers says how dare he hurt his faction member. This was actually a trap for Tona Brothers. As that guy belonged to his sis faction, Tona Brothers cannot call him as his own faction member. But since they did, now that guy will be under Tona Brothers faction. And his sister will be pissed off at Tona Brothers for this. Later Jin explained the reason why he attacked him, and that is because a guy had a bloodlust towards Jin. So he cut off his arm. Then Jin announces that anyone can point their sword at him or launch a surprise attack towards him, but if someone show a hint of hostility towards him, he will not hesitate to attack them. Then the Elder Zed gets angry and asks how dare he do such thing in front of him. Jin replies he believed that he did not fight Tona Brothers, but the Elder himself. Then the Elder Zed tell him to explain it properly, and based on his response, he decide if he should behead him or not. Then Jin explained that hazing done by the Elder Zed was a unique way of attacking Jin. Elder Zed says that Jin, if that's how he felt, he should have attacked him, rather than injuring a cadet. Then Jin replays saying he would have attacked Elder Zed if he had a chance of winning, and simply sitting just because his opponent is stronger than him is not something a Reincarnated would do, and he would rather lose his life than his honor. Elder Zed is satisfied by his answer, and tell everyone to never forget that their identity is Reincarnated. Then as class is dismissed, Jin says to his brother that they might be scared of their big sis for now, and questions them if that's going to be same in the future, and warns them that they should act while keeping future in the mind as well. Then as he returns he informs Gilly of what happened, and Gilly is worried for him as both sister are already clan's flag bearers, and it is of unspoken rule in succession war that flag bearers fights flag bearers only. Jin is not worried as his sisters could not come and harass him directly, but can only mess with his mission's difficulty. And even if they do that, it would only help him raking up his achievements. And it won't be a problem as there is Muraken by his side, but for now Jin has different plan for Muraken. Then scene switch to Jin where he and his brothers are getting special training from their Uncle Zed. And also we see Jin brothers got beat up by their sister for their mistake in intermediate class. Then Jin's uncle explained the training they are going to take part in, and that is to strike the clear rock. Thing is, if they don't strike the rock hard enough, it will make a irritating sound, and if they hit it with right amount of strength, it will make a beautiful sound. But if they hit the rock too hard, the rock will explode. And after the explanation his uncle tells them to start their training, and 3 of them will be striking the clear rock until they makes a clear sound at any given time and situation. Then we see Jin's sister Luna and her nanny discussing about searing of the culprit who tried to assassinate Jin, but they were not able to find them. But they can also be relieved as Jin was able to grow up without any trouble. Then scene switches to intermediate class. There Jin's faction was given Orc Beast subjugation, which is definitely not for newbies, and this was done by Jin's sisters. Then everyone mocked them by saying to ask their young master Jin to save them. Then Misa says that they have to complete the mission and come back alive, and that is the only way to prove themselves. Then Jin also receive his mission, which is VIP assassination mission. And the target is the master of Ice Palace's Talaris and Dorma's lover. The Ice Palace refer to a huge tower located in the middle of the western sea of the continent, and its master is nicknamed as Spider of Abyss, so he has to assassinate her lover Alkaro Chenderer, who is staying in the lawless zone of Mammoth, which is a very dangerous place, and client is the Chenderer family itself who tried to bring him back. But as nothing worked they decided to end him, rather than letting their family secret out. Then Jin uncle asks if he still want to do it. Jin says he will do it. Then Jin brothers say if he encountered danger, he should just expose himself and say he is Reincarnated, then no one will bother him. Then Jin say it is surprising to see them care about him, and also warn to make up their mind if they like Jin or their sis more. and he hits the clear rock, and they hear clear sound, meaning Jin has completed his training also. Then as Jin leaves, his uncle tells Tona brother to not go against him until they are stronger than Jin. If they want to stay alive, that is. Then after 2 days, we see Jin and they're departing for their own missions. Then Jin notices that they are not confident in themselves, and says to them that worrying about the results is not going to change anything, so they should focus the mission and give it their best. And says that they should also come back safely, as Jin is also gonna come back safely, and say farewell to them. Then we see that he has ordered Murakan to look after them, and he also depart for the mission. So that is it for this video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like and subscribe for more. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.
So guys, as we saw in last episode, Jin was assigned for assassination mission. So in this episode we see him arrive at Mammoth Lawless Zone, and he enters a nearby bar, where a man calls him out for acting high and mighty, and tries to threaten him. Jin just cuts his head off, and everyone just laughs seeing this. Then he asks if the bartender know anything about Hister, who was his master in his previous life. Bartender says there is no one like that in that area. Then he asks if there is high class inn in Mammoth. Bartender say there is one in one west side of the city, which is called Moonlit Well. Jin predicted that as Alcaro is a guy who grew up without knowing what hardship is like, so he will be staying in a high-class inn only. Then as he enters the inn, he see Alcaro and his guards arguing over taking drugs, and his guard, after getting tired of hearing him, he knocks him out and takes him to his room. Then Jin thinks he cannot use poison as it is taboo in Mammoth, so he decides to terrorize the Moonlit Well Inn with magic, since he has 4-star magic, and if he combine it with spiritual energy, he will be able to cast 6-star magic spell, and no one would suspect a 15-year-old brat to be a 6-star magician. And to make it look like the attack was from outside, he decides to summon lightning. Then we see Cirrus and Dorma, daughter of the Hidden Palace Master, has also entered the city, and reason is to kill Alcaro, and is currently heading towards the Moonlit Inn. But she see the lightning falling towards the Moonlit Inn, and says she picked a bad day to visit, and she hurries towards the inn saying to prioritize the safety of their men, and she doesn't care what happens to Alcaro. Then we see Jin, who managed to pull it off. Then he looks for Alcaro, as it is only chance to finish him off, but Cirrus see him as she never expected to meet someone same age as her in Mammoth. Then she tells his guard to kill Alcaro if he is alive, and orders him to look for that magician that did it. Jin thinks as even the daughter of the Hidden Palace wants him death, there is no way he will survive, but he need to cover his face as it would be a problem if she remembers his face. Then she helps him to apply medicine, and says that he should be honored that she, the great Cirrus, is applying medicine to him. And when asks how can he repay this favor, she says how can someone like him repay a favor of great person like her, so he should just consider it as a nice memory. And she leaves, and Jin's mission is complete. Then scene switches to his faction members who are in orc subjugation mission, and they are doing well as they have already killed 18 orcs, and only 7 are left to complete their mission. Then Misa thinks as young master must have God blessing, and that fortune must be following them, cause orc normally move in groups, but they are moving around alone and are easy for picking. Then we see Murakan, who has ordered the orc beasts to move individually, and they will die if they move in group, and none of the cadets are dying because of Murakan. Then suddenly he feels something, so he puts up a barrier, and confronts the being that was headed that their way. It was a cemetery giant, and they were destroyed by the dragons from 2000 years ago. Then Murakan destroys the giant in one strike, and suspect that there is someone beyond this, and he should keep it a secret from Jin for now. And he thinks if Jin can grow at this pace, he will able to fight with Zipfels in 10 years. Then scene switch to Bouvard Gaston, who says that his cemetery giant was destroyed to Vishikal Ivliano, who is a vice leader of revolutionary group Canzello, who says that they should set up a meeting with Zipfels in the near future. Then scene switches to Jin, where his uncle and his team members congratulate him for completing the mission. Then the sister lackeys says that he was just lucky that some magician terrorized the inn his target was staying in, and made it easy for him to complete the mission. And one of them say that he is disappointed that Jin is only 4-star, and is just a fortunate brat. Then Kajin say that they can't do much as he is a pure-blooded Rinkandel. Then Jin comes towards them and says that he can hear everything, and Kajin continues to disrespect Jin, and say it's really annoying to see everyone acknowledge Jin, as he just completed his mission trough pure luck only. Then Jin says if that's how he felt, then he should have challenged him. Then Kajin says that Jin is going to regret his decision, and they start to fight. At first Jin is pushed back, but then his clear rock training start to take effect, and he starts to see Cadet Kajin's attack trajectory. And Jin finishes him. Then we see that Jin has reached 5-star Knight. Then Tona brothers are also shocked that Jin defeated Kajin. Then we see his sisters are pissed off after hearing this, and they decided to give him difficult mission, and also to send some of their men's to finish the job. Then scene switches where Gilly informs that everyone is amazed by his achievements. Later Jin says that since there are only 3 people that achieved 5-star Knight in history, they are the first patriarch, his sister Luna, and his father. It is an amazing achievement for sure. But now his siblings will start to get nervous and tries to suppress him, especially his brother Joshua, who is nominated as next patriarch, and also he is expecting his father to visit him soon, as his father also wants someone else as his heir instead of Joshua, cause his father was never satisfied with anyone other than his sis Luna, but she wasn't interested in becoming patriarch. So his father decided that she was not fit to lead the family. So Joshua, his second brother's place, solidified as next patriarch. But now as Jin has arrived, it gonna change. So his father is gonna come to test him again. And until then he will protect Jin as he is also a special case. And as there will be lot people who want visit his family from all over the world, a banquet will arrange to deal with it. So as his father will arrive, a banquet will be prepared. So he tells Gilly to be prepared for it. Later when Jin was in his room discussing about who are the guests that are going to visit him, his butler Pedro rushes in and says that a mission is assigned for him, and the mission is in Colin Ruins, which is a Zipful's territory. Then we see Jin mother who is angry at other sibling for assigning such mission to youngest. Then as Jin arrives, his mother says that mission is cancelled, and he do not need to go to Colin Ruins. Then as his sis tries to interfere, his mother shuts them up. Then his sisters ask her mother why is she protecting the youngest so much. Then his mother asks if any one of them has achieved 5-star Knight at the age of 15. And if they had done that, she would have protected them too. Then Jin says to his mother that he really likes the mission that their sisters had given to him, and he has zero intention of backing down now. So that is it for this video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like and subscribe for more. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.